Carl here from Brrraaains Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for short. And it's horror movie review time, although this one can kind of fall outside the horror bracket, could kind of sit in thriller more than horror than anything else. But the elements are there, so I feel like I can include it. I feel like I can sit in and talk about it. It is Swimfan, the 2002 psychological horror thriller, written by Charles Boll and Philip Schneider and directed by John Paulson, starring Jesse Bradford, Erica Christensen and Sherry Appleby.
What's up, ladies? Hey.
My swimming buddy.
Ben Cronin thought he had it all.
Scouts are coming next week.
It might actually happen, huh?
Yeah, can you picture it?
Good friends.
I just remember why we broke up, John.
You couldn't handle me in bed, or?
And a bright future.
Now I'm going to start this review off with a fact about me. Never saw this film until very recently. Yes, it's been out since 2002, over 20 years old, but I just never saw it. I fell out of love with the kind of teen horror thriller stuff that was coming out in the late 90s and the early noughties following the success of Scream. So Swimfan had no interest in me, particularly when one look at it, I saw that it borrowed heavily from the likes of, say, Play Misty for Me and Fatal Attraction, which it does. Haven't watched it. I enjoyed it up to a point, but it's one of those movies that the longer it went on, the more I started to notice the flaws and issues and where it was lacking, to the point when the last 20 minutes I just found myself kind of disliking. And it was really disappointing because the early portion of the movie I was into. So it was a shame to sort of see it fall away like it did. Now the story sees high school student Ben Cronin, played by Jesse Bradford, make a mistake. A pretty big one that will end up costing him more than he could have ever imagined. Ben, he has this world at his feet. He's a star swimmer, popular at school, and Stanford University Scouts, which the film makes sure we know is a big bloody deal, are due to come to see him and the team swim quite soon. Alongside that, he has a loving girlfriend called Amy, that's Sherry Appleby's character. His life seems pretty perfect, especially as throughout the movie we learn he turned it around following a period of drug taking and a stint in juvenile hall. But he is a teenager, and like many teens, he risks it all for a one-night stand with new student Madison Bell, played by Erica Christensen.
But he never imagined
What are you doing here?
one moment
Okay, I want you to.
could change everything.
Maybe it's the pressure Ben is feeling, maybe it's the inordinate interest that Madsen has in him, maybe Ben's just horny. I do wish the film had given a bit more weight to him cheating on his girlfriend. It doesn't seem to really matter in the context of it. He ends up sleeping with Madison, and they agree to it being a one-night stand as he has a girlfriend and that's it. He does make it clear quite early on that he has a girlfriend, but she continues to pursue him, and he seems to like the attention. I really wish they had taken the time to really delve into why Ben would cheat and why Madison's interest was important. It kind of plays around the idea that he's feeling a lot of pressure to live up to his girlfriend's demands. She wants to take the relationship one step further when it comes to college. That could be freaking him out, but it never really delves enough into that. That sort of said, then Madison turns up, they flirt for a little bit, next we know he's banging her in the pool, and it's like, whoa, how did we get to this point? It doesn't take long for things to go wrong for Ben either, because while he might have hoped that it was a one-night stand to be completely forgotten about, Madison doesn't quite see it this way and begins to make his life hard. She generally thinks they have a thing going on, and some of those moments are some of the most tense and awkward of the movie. It's frustrating and annoying for Ben, of course, but even he has no idea just how far she'll go to make it happen. Hell, even I was surprised by some of the things that occur at the end of this movie. Now, I think this is a film that hinges on its performances, purely because the story is so familiar, and a lot of the time, mediocre. These performances happily are solid for the most part, but there are times certain characters slip into cringe territory. Inadvertently, though, that's the thing. It's not an on purpose thing. And I don't think this is anywhere more present than in the final third and the ramping up of Madison's revenge. As I said at the start of this review, that's where the movie starts to fall apart for me. The story's starting to get very silly and quite unbelievable, which is a real shame. As already stated, the early portions had some tense moments.
Surprise. It's so great to finally meet your mother.
Finally, you just met me.
You want to pretend like it never happened?
I have a girlfriend.
Don't worry about me. I got somebody waiting for me in New York.
You have 81 new emails. Picture received.
Gotcha.
Hey.
However, I think what the real shock and the real disappointment is how tame this movie is. Currently rated as a 12 in the UK. There's just a total lack of schlock and trash, which would have benefited the movie, I think. Swimfan, for all it does well, takes itself far too seriously, and that is to its detriment. Learn something from the likes of Scream if you're going to ape that kind of teenage horror. Don't take yourself too seriously. Now, the film, it's too short as well to really push this idea, this stalker business, to darker and deeper limits, but it's also way too long for what it actually has to offer. There are worse teen horror thrillers out there for sure, but Swimfan, I think, falls into the forgettable category. Had I seen it when it first came out, I'd have probably forgotten about it completely and had to rewatch it anyway. Did I hate it? Was I massively disappointed by it? No, it kind of ticked all the boxes I expected. I expected a very familiar stalker-esque story that ramps up and ramps up and ramps up. And I got all of that. Admittedly, it ramps up in the directions and ways I totally didn't expect. There's this hilarious twist at the end, if you want to call it that, or reveal. No, twist is the wrong word. A reveal at the end that falls so flat in its face. I was genuinely like, wait, do they think that's a big deal? What difference does this make to the character we've already seen? We already know she's a bit unhinged. That much is clear. What difference does this make at all? That's one of many, many problems. Ben, the main character, he's likable enough in that I kind of felt sorry for him. But to be honest, man, he's just an everyday average American teenage lad. So it's not really that much to care about either. I think probably the one I enjoyed watching the most was Madison, Erica Christensen's character, particularly because of those early scenes when things are so awkward and quite tense. I really like that, and early on I was quite intrigued to see what kind of things she would do to mess with Ben.
You tested positive steroids.
I don't take steroids.
Clean out your locker, you're off the team.
She did it. I know she did.
You're crazy, man. You're losing.
That was a lot of fun. When it turns to, let's be honest, without spoiling too much, murder and mayhem, it's not so much fun. She's the kind of one I reference as taking things to cringy levels, often sometimes just by the dialogue she speaks or the reactions to certain events. It's middle of the road. It exists. It's Swimfan. You know what to do. You got any thoughts on it? Let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?